dietary laws, which are interesting.
And fun to look at, and we will in a moment.
Yeah.
But then holiness for our third theme.
Holiness
what does holiness mean, Nicole?
Holiness just means other, separate. You know? And I think...
We're back to that transcendent, immanent thing again?
Yes. That when we say our God is a holy God, God is a God that is other. That is not us.
Not in my pocket.
Yeah. That I don't get to form, that I don't get to cast off the things that I don't like, but that God is the one forming me, not me forming God.
No chia gods.
No chia God. No bonsai kind of nip and tuck gods.
Which is what we prefer.
Which is, because wouldn't it be so nice and easy if that's how it was? And, you know, but I think we see this where we kind of pick and choose what we want about God instead of kind of wrestling with the whole package, the stuff that we like and the stuff that we don't like. And sometimes we get too set in our ways of what we think about God and aren't open to letting God surprise us and continually challenge us.
One of the things I say to people when they're thinking about church and whether to join or not join, I get questions all the time about, well, how much do I have to agree, or the Bible itself, how much do I have to like this thing or whatnot? This is what I say. Faithfulness is not how much you agree with the content of what a church's charter or belief structure. For instance, with my wife, Melissa, she and I also are not always eye to eye, and Nicole's like, would you be with this guy? And faithfulness, I hope to goodness, for us would not mean agreeing on every little thing, right? Faithfulness for us means sticking through the parts that when we don't agree and we cannot even manage to talk about something. Faithfulness to Scripture is continuing the conversation. Yeah. So when you read across something, you say, I don't like that. Good. Acknowledge it, be honest about it, and then keep reading and read it back again. And read the parts you don't like, read the parts you like. And that is fidelity, that is faithfulness. Yeah. It's not having to like shoehorn yourself into saying, oh, it's all good and I agree with every little part of it. No.
Right. It's committing to the struggle.
Yes.
And it's not just reading it and being like, oh, I don't like that, let me keep going. Yeah. It's, I don't like that. Why don't I like that? What is challenging to me about this? And really spending time with those passages that are hard. Yeah, I think that's what faithfulness is about.
I think that's good. We'll talk some of the things you want to know. Chapter 11 is a great chapter to just read through. In the Hebrew tradition, the word is called kashrut. These are food laws. So when you hear people who keep kosher, they're going to eat some things and not other things. You know, the main thing I guess I'd want to bring up at this point, in our tradition, the Reformed tradition, we say we take Scripture seriously, not literally. Where we're going to acknowledge that Nicole and I make interpretive decisions when we read through the text. Who we are makes a difference in how we hear it, our background, our gender, all these things make a difference in how we read. And then quite honestly, we're going to make decisions about which books are more important or which words are more important. The great Simpsons line when Homer quotes, "What about Matthew 17, blah, blah, and he left Bethany and lodged there." Yeah, think about that. You know, we're going to say it's what she has to live with. Is awful. We're going to say that Jesus saying, love the Lord your God and your neighbor as yourself, might have more importance than a line like he left Bethany and lodged there. So we make interpretive decisions. Food laws are an excellent point, where sometimes when we're tempted to say, I take the Bible literally, every word, every line. Food laws are a place where everybody I know makes interpretive decisions at that point to say that particular chapter, chapter 11, not as important as maybe, I don't know, the Gospel of Mark.
Yeah, at least not as important to us.
Exactly.
But, you know,
it's still there. We're not ripping it out.
It's still there, and I think if you wanted to do kosher laws, one season for Lent, I I tried to live as kosher as I could, and gave up pork, and
wow.
I didn't adopt a whole lot of the rules, but just a couple of the rules, and it was really a great spiritual exercise when I'm making my food and using different cutting boards and like having those holy moments, or moments that reminded me why I was doing it, that Lent was really important and had a lot of meaning to me. I'm not gonna do it all the time, but I know I do love bacon. But these things can have meaning, but just because they don't have a lot of meaning to you personally doesn't mean that you can disregard them. Yeah.
I'll go. Another text you want to know, chapter 19. It is the care for the strangers text. I've already quoted my favorite line, with loving a stranger as yourself. There's also this tradition that you should be aware of that comes up, especially with Ruth, when we get to that book. But when you glean a field, or when you harvest a field, you leave some on the edges, and you leave it for who? For the alien, for the strangers, that they might be able to come in and take that grain themselves. Sabbath, the laws about Sabbath. It's not just for you. 6 days you work, seventh take it off. They say it's for the stranger, the sojourner in your midst as well. This is not trying to compel people who don't believe what you believe and say, well, you're going to follow my laws too. No, this is, again, another act of justice where if you get to sit on your can and relax on Sunday, I live for that.
I know.
Then the strangers, the aliens, the slaves are also going to have that luxury.
That's why we have chairs in churches.
That's how we get to sit. And nice comfy chairs too. Last story, the Jubilee.
Last year's Jubilee. So the Jubilee year is every 50 years, and what happens is that all the slaves in their midst go free. Yeah.
Bing, bing, nice. Bing, 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 bing.
It's a party. It's great, and everyone's celebrating, and there's no hard feelings afterwards. I mean, there might be.
There might be. I don't know.
But it's every 50 years. This is what we're doing. We're letting the slaves go free. And it's really interesting because remember, these are people who used to be slaves, And I think it's a really great example of, okay, once you're in power, once you've accumulated power for yourself, how do you still live faithfully? Because there's some problems there. Once the Hebrews became people with some power over other people, and slavery was kind of a normal social institution. It's different than American slavery. Yes. Should really say that.
Caveat: we're not for slavery.
Not at all. This would be one of those times where it's like you can read that it literally happened in the Bible. Doesn't mean you get to do it.
Yes.
Yes. Same with multiple wives. There's lots of things.
Yeah. Taking little ones' heads and dashing them against rocks.
Not
go and do likewise.
No.
Boiling children.
Not
gonna do it.
That's not even in the Bible. That's in Ken's brain.
All right.
He's a weird dude. So how do you? And so this issue of the Jubilee year is kind of an expression of how do you be faithful when you have power. And now that the shoe is on the other foot, so to speak, that they're now the slave owners, how do we treat them with mercy and justice? And that's just a great word for us today. How, as people with power, do we treat other people that don't have any?
Preach it, preacher.
Well, that's gotta wait for Sunday.
All right, I think that's good for Leviticus for today.
It's a good book. Yeah. It's super. I think it's incredibly relevant.
Just because you don't have to follow all of these laws to appreciate where they came from.
The spirit behind these laws is something we can incorporate. Okay, see you next time.